Badmen, LB, Rupert, Albert, and the Bishop Paul Brown. Badmen for the 2020-2021. And you know what it is. You know Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego too. This is Paul Rupert.
We're back!
Coming out with a brand new thought, covered under the blood in which we were born. So we know how to get to.
Is for bold, A is for active, D is for determined. When you consider King David's valiant, you have an idea and understanding where we're taking this. Stay tuned.
Hallelujah, revive us again.
We are excited to bring fresh commentary, good conversation with two bad men. Boy, you don't want to miss this. Bad Man for Christ. Join us.
Stands for determined, just like Peter when he did his first sermon. As the saying goes, bad men for Christ. That is how we'll be for the rest of our life. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our show because we're stuck in the house with nowhere to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my good friend, Overseer Rupert. Oh, what a wonderful opportunity it is. I want to greet everybody who has joined us on this great evening, the Monday after Mother's Day. Overseer, talk to me. How was Mother's Day?
Man, it was beautiful, wonderful day. We thank God. Let's just say thank God for all the mothers, the good mothers out there, the ones that are trying to be good mothers and those that are going to be good mothers. We thank God for all of them, especially the Christian-based mothers who have been training their child in the way they should go so that when they're old, they shall not depart from it. And I thank God for my mama. She trained me in the right way. As we say, we were all drugged as kids. Drugged to Sunday school, drugged to morning service, drugged to night service. We were drugged everywhere. So I thank God for that because it's rooted in me and helped me to be able to be the person I want to be today.
Hey, that's great, man. Hey, that's great. It's wonderful.
Thank God for my baby's mama. Ooh, let me hold on. And I thank God for my baby's mama, my lovely lady, Vivian Henry Johnson. Woo! I thank God for her. Glory to God. Thank you. All right.
I'm so glad we're training you well on this show. I just want to say thank you for Mrs. Brown. Amen. I'm gonna put that in first. Amen. But it was a wonderful experience. We're just delighted and we thank God for what He's doing. And again, for all the mothers that have been joining us on the show, we want to say happy belated Mother's Day. It's great. It's great. And so rather than that, we're talking about mothers and raising families. And on this evening, we have an exciting show for you. We're going to talk about the history of the Black family. And our show really is precipitating from a TikTok that my good friend, Overseer Johnson, and myself had the opportunity to view on the behalf of one of our producers who actually sent that TikTok to us. And basically, it actually stresses that the Black family has been destroyed through systemic racism and introduction of certain different things within the society, by the government. And so really, I have one view, and my friend Overseer, he has one view. And as you know, this is the Badmen Show. Two bad men arguing, talking, discussing very intently on subject on both sides of the spectrum. Yes, and you all know, those have been watching the show for the last 2 years, who has been on the winning side, percentage wise. So how I want to start this off, Overseer, is I did a bit of research, and I looked up a fellow by the name of Walter E. Williams, a PhD He is professor of economics from George Mason University. In fact, he just died in December 2020. And he says that the black family is struggling, and its struggle is not because of slavery. There's little evidence to support the legacy of slavery, racial discrimination, and poverty that is the cause of the black family. So now, tell me what your view is quickly before we bring our guest in.
You know, my view is not. I believe there are some things that happen in the system that have caused the degradation of the black family, but I believe it's also the fact that individuals themselves have also caused the degeneration of ourselves by perpetuating the system and fulfilling its cause. I believe that there's many things that we could have done as people not to fall into the trap that they have set us, and we have, and now people live by it. And instead of saying, I do not want that, that's what they live by. And that's what I believe. That's where I am.
All right, let me ask you a quick question then. How do you define a family?
Well, we talked about that yesterday at church a little bit. The definition of a family right now is different from what it was 50 years ago.
I don't want the modern version. I want the definition of a family. Are you suggesting to me that the definition changes over time?
Obviously, you have one. So why don't you give me your definition? So since you
of course, my definition of a family is a mother, a father, and children.
So
the nucleus of the family is mommy, daddy, and children.
What about grandparents, aunts, uncles?
No, I'm just talking just the nucleus, the primer, the nucleus, the nuclear family.
So if mommy and daddy married for 15 years and daddy dies because of some disease, that there's no longer a family?
No, if daddy passes, if mommy and daddy has been married for 15 years, they have established a family.
And then what happens?
So the process is already. So you just continue in the progression.
So that is a continuation. Okay.
Yeah. Because it has been established. Okay. If a couple stars fall, a couple millions of stars fall from the sky, that doesn't mean that the sky, the galaxy is no longer existing.
Yeah, but what I think a definition of family is no longer the same as it was, like I said, 50 years ago. A family unit, I believe, is a parent, child that are together and love each other. So even if you have a mother and a father and kids, if the mother and father aren't working together and aren't striving to work together with the children, I don't think it's a family. I think it's two people married with children. I think a family, there has to be parents. Most likely, I would like to have two, but there could be only one, depending, and children, and they're working together as a unit. That's what I look as a family.
A family can't be a mother and children alone. That's not a family.
That is your opinion, sir.
Prove me wrong. I am. When I open the text of the Bible, everybody says, family is mommy, daddy, and children.
Everybody who's listening, just send in your thoughts. What you think, that if the definition of family is changed or it's the same thing. Okay. Somebody's bringing the definition of family on Good Time Show 1970, dad, mom, son, daughter. I'm not disagreeing. It's what it was in the 70s.
That is a family.
Yeah, I agree that it was in the 70s, but the times have changed. Up there, Joseph Patterson. I agree with you over Super Johnson. We have a guest though today that's going to help us out figure this out. Let's bring in our guest because I think we need to. So Bishop, why don't you set it up? Bishop Brown, please set up our good friend Bishop Johnson, who's going to try to judge upon our thoughts here.
Our listening audience, we would like to bring in our resident historian, and his name is Bishop Robert Johnson Sr. In fact, I would like to say that this year he's going to be 75 years old. Woo! So he's been around a little bit. So I mean, for certain, he would have experience as to what a family was in the time of slavery, because we're talking about the history of the black family. So we're going all in America. I want to just define just in America. And so he's going to go back from slavery and bring us up today, because if what overseer is saying is just parents, then slavery within our families. Go. So overseer, Bishop, please introduce yourself to our guests just real quick and jump in on this question for us.
God bless I say to my two sons in the gospel, I had the opportunity to oversee for over 10 years. God bless you, brothers.
Bless you.
Very quickly, as you said, I'm Bishop Robert Johnson, member of the Board of Bishops of the United Church. They call me the historian because God has blessed me to go to school and study a little bit of history. I was really getting tickled at you all defining family. You know, if you want to go biblically, in order to have a what they call synagogue church, you had to have 10 families to create a church. That comes from Jewish history. Because why? When God created man, he said, what? It's not good for man to live alone. And then he pulled a rib out of the man, created a female, joined the two together, and then told them to be fruitful and multiply. Now, when you bring it into the New Testament, what did he say? For this cause shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. That becomes a family. But as you said, over time, Rupert, and our dad really set the precedence. Whenever he sat down to counsel people to get married, he said, now you've got to remember this one thing. This is your wife. You cleave to her. But you got to understand, when you marry her, you are in essence really marrying her whole family. You become a part of her family, and she becomes a part of your family. And that's where we get the word extended family, if I might throw that in.
Yes.
So is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Bishop, the thing is, can a one parent be a family? Can a dad and children alone be family? Can
when you say family, the responsibility is, you remember. And unfortunately, it was because Jewish culture, when the man died, everything went to a brother. In other words, the oldest brother was to take in that wife and make them his family. But as we saw, what happened with Naomi and Ruth. When Naomi's husband died, Ruth's husband died, Orpah's husband died. So there were 3 widows with no males. And that's when Naomi said she was going back home, right?
Yes, keep going, Bishop.
Stayed in her country. But what did Ruth say? Whither thou goest, I will go. Your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God.
Bishop, talk about when she said your people, what did she mean by your people? Didn't she mean your family?
All of her extended family that she had left.
Extended.
Right, the extended family. And in essence, as you know, she ended up marrying who? Boaz, who in essence was Naomi's cousin.
To create a unit, mommy and daddy. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
A unit.
So Bishop, all right, so let's take it from because we're talking about the history of the black family, and in slavery, we had a black family. During Reconstruction, we had black family, mommy, daddy. Within the civil rights, we had black family. Bishop, at some point, there was now a disintegration of the black family. So can you bring us back from slavery and catch us up as to, because in slavery time, they usually still got married. A mommy and a daddy jumped the broom. Talk a little bit about that as to how, until when it comes to into our overseer Rupert's time, when he redefined the family to just single parent. Go ahead,
okay.
Bishop.
Now, it's interesting when you talk about that. You've got to remember, when you talk about family during slavery time, you have to remember the country was totally divided. You had North, you had South. Now, they were permitted to have families in the North, but not in the South. Because why? They were slaves. If they were slaves, that meant they were property. When you talk about the jumping of the broom, that was usually done in secret as a ceremonial kind of thing. One movie I recommend everybody to see to understand what was the difference between what we call family as we think of it and as was actually happening. If you ever saw the movie 12 Years a Slave, where this man was captured by his own friends actually and sold into the South, and he kept trying to tell them he was married, he had children, but the slave owner didn't want to hear that until, as I say, somebody was able to get out a letter of his to some of those lawyers up in the North who knew him and went down and got him back to his family, per se. His wife, his children, his daughter had grown up, she had married. It was his first time seeing his grandson. Okay? Because what was happening in the South, if they owned the slaves, they were their property. So they really couldn't have families, because what would happen when they had children? The children most of the time were sold off to other plantations. All right? And I think I'd even shared this with you. The only children they actually kept on the plantation were the children of the master by the slave. Okay? And please excuse me, I put it this way. That is what created the difference when we say, what was the house, quote unquote, nigger, and the field nigger, because you had nothing in the field. And the only reason they were allowed in the house because they were the children of the master.
So now, right. So Bishop, take us out now to Reconstruction.
Okay. Then what happened at the end of the Civil War? See, the Civil War was fought, quote unquote, over slavery. And okay, here I go. Here's the history. I say, if you don't want to hear the truth tonight. The only reason that Lincoln made slavery the issue, because England was planning to come into the war on the side of the South, because they depended on the South for cotton. And the only way Lincoln kept England out of the war was he determined that we are fighting now to end slavery, not to just maintain the Union, but to end slavery. All right? So when Reconstruction came about, slaves were freed and didn't know they were free. Yeah. That's why we have the date coming up next month called Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, yep.
Because it was not until the 19th of June that they realized they were free. All the way from April to the 9th, when they signed the end of the war, and they were declared free. Okay?
But Bishop, they did have the resemblance of mommy, daddy, and children within some unit, though.
What, right?
They had the unit of the parents,
right?
Mother, father, and children, even coming out of Reconstruction.
Okay, and as I said, it was not until Alex Haley came along and wrote the book Roots in 1977, okay, that we began to research our history. Now, I can make you laugh in a little bit, because once they started researching their history, my oldest daughter, all of you know, Keturah, her name is Keturah, began to research our family history and come to find out that we were descendants of the slaveholders in Charlottesville, Virginia. And the fairness of our family, I'll share this one with you, Paul. I get in trouble with this all the time because my daughter's married, and when she took her husband to my cousin's daughter's birthday, he raised the question and asked her, are there any brown-skinned people in your family? because everybody on my side was very fair. In fact, I remember vividly. My dad, we were coming back from a meeting in Petersburg, Virginia in 1955, driving through Richmond. My dad was stopped by the police because they thought my mother was white. Okay. And that's been the division, that's been the divisiveness, if I can put it very bluntly, over the years, because not knowing and realizing where our culture was. See, you got to understand slavery, and even though the North won the war, the South still maintained its separation. And as you're hearing it today, you know, they call it the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again. It's simply what? Them wanting to recapture, being able to control how we move, operate, and do.
So Bishop, when at what year the we start have experienced the disintegration of the African American family?
Well,
Was it the introduction of the welfare state?
okay. Well, just like you said, you know, okay, I think you said from the TikTok thing, the gentleman was talking about 1970, but I said you really got to go back beyond that because it was during Franklin Roosevelt. Remember, we had just come out of World War II hadn't started yet. I'm sorry. We had just come out of the Great Depression. And what Franklin Roosevelt did was he instituted two things. And the amazing thing about it, they were only supposed to be temporary until the country got back on its feet. What were those two things? Welfare and the IRS. It was never intended for the IRS to become the monster that it has become. It was only supposed to have been a temporary thing to get them over the hump, to get America back on its feet. But now what? Everybody owes the IRS. You know, the one thing everybody's afraid of is the IRS.
So
and
Bishop,
welfare was only supposed to be temporary.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions. I'm sorry.
Ahead.
No, I was saying we have a lot of questions on families. So I mean, if the producers
let me show you where it really came in. So with the welfare system, what has happened? Because you know, well, like I said, the Lord gave me an opportunity to spend. I spent four and a half, almost 5 years working for the Circuit Court of Baltimore. Welfare is an atrocity simply because those mothers were getting paid to have children.
Yeah.
But if there was a man in the house, she couldn't get anything because they were supposed to work. So a man would come in, get with the woman, she have a baby, and she would get paid for having children, and the man had to stay out. So that, in essence, really was destroying the family.
Ah, there you go. All right.
But Bishop, and this is where I come in, because my issue is, did the person have a choice to make it a unit of a husband and wife with children, or did they choose to say, no, I want the money, so I'm not going to have my baby daddy and marry him. I'll just tell them he doesn't live here, even though he lives in the back. He lives with me anyway. I'm just going to tell him I'm single.
Right.
And that's the problem. That's the problem I have. I don't have a problem. I understand that the welfare system caused the rift. I'm saying that the welfare system wouldn't be as powerful as it is if the people who are on it, because there's more white people on welfare than black people, just because of numbers. Percentage-wise, it may not be the same, but numbers, we know that's the case.
Well, see, what's interesting, what you said, because that was one of the things I was also going to point out, Ruben. You know, we talk about slavery, black this, black that. Blacks only make up 14% of the total population of this country. 14%. So in essence, we are outnumbered 10-1. But you know what the problem is? If we tell the truth, We are the largest consumers in this country. We spend every penny.
Say yeah.
If you notice the commercials are catered to us as a people. You know, how many, can I ask this? How many Chinese stores or whatever do you see in a white neighborhood? You know, how many soul shacks and all those do you see in a white neighborhood? It's because they know we spend money when we get it. And this is where we've been attacked per se. We were really not taught how to save anything.
I'm going to bring it up. Yeah.
All right,
because
I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, talking about family, I was going to bring it up, Bishop. We have, I believe that as much as the systematic things that have happened in America to jumpstart issues in the Black family, I believe the Black family, or in not the Black family, but individuals are also to blame in our community because we have not done those things necessary to help us get out of the systematic issues, and we stay in it, and we don't have to. We can get out of it because many people have.
Let's take some questions. Come on, Ken, give us some questions, because we want to include our audience in this conversation.
It's not really a question, but it's a comment by one of our longtime listeners. Father, mother, and children, grandparents, uncle, and cousins are the extension of family. That's what Bishop was saying, is the extension of family.
I'm taking that, so I got one in my corner. Yes.
How are you taking that?
I'm tabulating. Go. Yeah.
Whatever. A family consists of one man and one woman according to the Bible.
I got two going.
That's according to. Okay, hold it. I want to make sure I'm clear. Everybody, I'm Pastor Rupert Johnson. I agree with the Bible. I love the Bible. So please do not take my statements as if I'm some sort of secular crazed man out here who's trying to tell you that. What I'm saying is the Bible's definition, which was written way before any of y'all were born. The Bible's definition is true. What I'm saying is over time, especially recently in the last 50 years, the definition has to change because demographics have changed. But let's keep going.
So no. Go back to Trisha Brown's question, because I agree with that. Husband and wife is not a family. Yep, you need to have children.
You have to have children, and I disagree with that too.
I like that next one that came up.
If you think the definition of a family is one without two parents, then you are subscribing to the misdirection message of the media over the last 4 decades. You know, people, again, I'm going to say it again because it's incredible. Let me say it again. Let me break it down for y'all. I'm not saying that the definition of family is A. What I'm saying is, and we have to look at the semantics, because if I have a single mother in church who comes with her 2 kids into church, and I say to her, "You're not a family," I am giving her misdirection, because it may not be her fault that the man that she loved and had children with never married her and walked away. It may not be her fault. So I would still consider her doing the job of a mother and a father and being a parent to those children. So everyone, stop with the, oh my God, you have to have a mother and a father.
All right.
So in this country, that's not accurate when it comes to we know this.
So I'll jump in here. According to my research, children from fatherless homes are likely to drop out of high school, die of suicide, behavioral disorder, join gangs, commit crimes, end up in prison. 90% homeless and runaways are children from fatherless homes. 71% of pregnant teenagers are from fatherless home. So the point I'm getting at is, with the welfare, where, as Bishop has just declared it, the fact that it's separating the father or putting the father out of the home is the result of these issues. However, if you got the unit together, you will not have these things. All right, that's my point. Yes, sir.
But here, let me give you my research is done.
Yeah.
The last 10 school shootings by students have been by students who've come from a mother and a father home.
We're talking about black family now. We ain't talking about the other people. The other family that
We
goes
must
around
cross
killing
over to
people.
the other persuasion, right?
Okay. Let me give you another statistic. Over 70% of the National Football League is coming from a different type of family unit than we may be used to. About that, so it's just so you know, but that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, but you see the point we're making though. The point we're making is from slavery until the introduction of the welfare system. What we have had African American family that have survived racism during that period. I mean, real hard racism, and they endure. They have systemic racism, institutional, and we endure. But when you get rid of the fathers in the home, we end up with the situation that we're facing today. And the point is, you can't blame what we're experiencing today on racial discrimination or whatever. You got to look at one of the key points, that the introduction of the welfare state in this country, where you support unwed mothers, has created significant problems for the African American family.
And see, not
Bishop
and not only that, but when we look at, I think one of the things, as Rupert pointed out, the amazing thing is when we look at economics, as you pointed out, our families, our parents, our grandparents, like I know my mother was one of 8 children. And the way, they had larger families back then, 8, 9, 10, even up to 15 or 16. But because of economics, that's because the father was able, as you say, when he was in the home, to work and be able to make enough to sustain his family while the mother kept the house. But as time, as you say, as time has changed, and you got more women in the workplace now, which means they don't have time to have children. They've got to go after their career. So where you used to have 4 and 5 brothers and sisters, now you do well to just have 2 if you get that many.
But Bishop, one of the things that the TikTok author suggests is that you remove factory industries which were in the metropolitan era within the African American community, and that's what kept those dads employed. But now they are moved out into the rural area where they actually cannot get there. So therefore, that in also itself broke down that structure that you just talked about, because then the fathers can't support the family anymore. But our good friend Rollins at one overseer, let's hear what he has to say.
Simon said, "I'm with Pastor." That's me. I'm with Pastor. I can't type, he says. I would have to type a few paragraphs. Bishop, this is not a most popular talk show host. I think he's contest. I think he says it's not about a most popular talk show host contest. This is about the issue at hand. Amen. Amen. Ken Walsh says, one of the symptoms of no dad in the house is boys and young men growing up not as masculine. Oh, this is a question. Is one of the symptoms of no dad in the house is boys and young men growing up not as masculine as they could be?
Right. And the reason for that now you're really looking at the educational system. There's a move on that I just saw a couple of weeks ago where they're advocating for more male teachers. When I started teaching in the school system, I used to get tickled because the head of the history department, his name was Dr. Samuel Banks, he would move me around at will simply because he would say to me, he said, Johnson, I need a strong male figure for the students in the school. Because when we think back, I did not see a black male teacher until I got to high school. My elementary teachers were all female, black and white. My middle school teachers, and also junior high school teachers, were all female, except the gym teacher, until I got to high school that I actually saw a black male in the classroom. It's because, one, because of the way that teachers are paid, they are not really paid for the job that they are expected to do.
Yeah.
Education has gone down the tube. And this is one of the strikes against, as you say, Rupert, our families and us as a people. We're not educating like we should.
Yeah, and Bishop, I like to ask this question too, because you brought up about the teaching and things like that. And he talked about the sons not being as masculine. I don't think there's anything to do with a dad not being home. You can have a dad and a mom at home and the child still not be raised masculine. I think it has to do with love and how you
Right.
train your child. I don't think it has to do with parents. That's just parenting. And a single mother can grow up a masculine child. A single father can grow up a feminine daughter just as well as two parents, as long as they have the right value system and they show them the love and support they need. The problem is the lack of teaching, the lack of love is what I believe. I mean, can you expand on that?
Well, like you say, in such competition now, the competitiveness that goes on. And as I was just talking even to my wife the other day, I said, growing up, we would sit down as a family and eat dinner as a family. But now, as they've grown, it's everybody goes and comes. And sometimes, I would tease my wife because I say sometimes I sit and eat dinner at the table by myself because why? Miss Kathy may not be home yet, or at work or whatever, and pastor's getting ready for this, that, and the other. So that, as I saw someone say earlier, the Bill Cosby Show. The other one that we look at, and although is of the other persuasion, when you see Blue Bloods, at the end they always sit down as a family over dinner and discuss the events of the day and who's this and who's that. And this last show was very interesting because the daughter wanted to run for state's attorney, but she was afraid. And her father told her, say, well, I think it's not you're afraid of losing, you're afraid of winning.
Right.
But they talked her through, and she said at the very end, I'm throwing in my hat in the ring because I have my family's support.
But obviously, take that long question because I would like to. Yeah, go ahead.
And so another listener. And statistically, children with two parents, mother and father, can also be likewise gone astray. Some is it better for a parent who is a negative influence stay at that home must take each individual situation into consideration. A single mother who is educated and able to provide for her children and not depend on the government. Why is her household not considered a family? Good question. Why, if there's a single mother who's able to take care of her families, raising her kids, doing a great job raising her kids, why is she not considered a family?
I want to take that on. But before I take that on, I want to take a few minutes again, thank our listening audience to being here on tonight. We truly appreciate that. We also want to give a shout out to our producers. We have here our producers, both Ken Walsh and Albert Minot, and we truly appreciate them coming on.
Right.
Not only helping us with the show, but also every so often putting a question or two in. In addition to that, we also would like for your support, for you to support with us with our different merchandises that we have on sale. As you see, our overseer, Rupert, is in full gear, hat and t-shirt, ready for the summer. Well, not only
Yeah.
that, we got cups, we got glasses, we have masks and so forth. So we truly appreciate you and your support. And if you would like to intern on the Badman Show, we're looking for volunteers. Just send us an email and the Badman for Christ at gmail.com, and we will be kind enough to get in touch with you. So let me take that question. All right, let me take that question.
Yeah.
I believe that a dad, a father brings a certain aspects to the rearing of a child. I believe a mom brings a certain aspect to the rearing of a child.
100%
And
agree.
I think that both of them must. It's best that both parents are needed to nurture a well-rounded child.
Right.
Now, if there's a situation where something happens, because there are cases where a husband passes on early in life, and a mom is there to actually be able have to take on that responsibility, then that mom needs to reach out to the uncles and the extended family to help to rear the child. I don't believe I mean single moms. My mom, I was single. Came out as a single family. My mom did a tremendous job. I really think she did a great job. However, when it was time for me to get married, I would have been nice for daddy to be around to give me some information, to tell me some ropes. There's something a single parent cannot help with a male child. There's something a single dad cannot help with a female child. And that's the reason why the Lord made male and female and put them as a unit to rear children.
And if I can add, just while you were talking, it kind of came to mind when we talk about the extended family. Now, I got to give props where props are due. We kind of laughed at it, but Hillary Clinton made the profound statement. She said it takes a whole village to raise the child.
That's it.
And so even with single parents, their family, but the whole village, as you pointed out, Paul. And see, that was another point I was going to point out. And this is the thing that bothers me more than anything else. Truth of the matter, I know I'm going to get in trouble saying this. We as a people are the most divided people in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you've ever heard, but I've heard statements thrown out before that say we're like crabs in the barrel. And I did a little bit of research on that. And when they talk about crabs in the barrel, if you go to an open air market, I've gone a couple of times just to see, they said the crab barrel is the only one that doesn't have a top on it.
Don't need it.
Simply because they don't worry about any of them getting out. Because when one tries to get out, the other pulls them back down.
Yep.
And when we don't follow, to me, the biblical principle, you know, it would say, by this shall all men know that you're my disciples and that you love one another. As you just point out, love and support is the most important thing. And when you have a common cause, like I say, to me, that's what started the whole civil rights movement. It was when Sister Rosa, who had worked all day, was tired, because you know she not only worked all day, but she had a family that she went home to cook and whatever. And because she refused to give up her seat, got arrested. Okay. Now the interesting part of that was Martin had just come to Montgomery, brand new pastor, 27 years old. He made a statement in church. That's why I always say church has the fastest grapevine in the world, if you ask my opinion. Only thing faster than the church is the jail. That's because they're locked up. He made a statement. He said, well, only thing we can do is to show our disapproval by not riding the bus tomorrow. He made that statement in his church of only 200 people. But what happened? The next morning, not a single black person in the city rode the bus because they were determined to come together.
Yeah, Ken. No, Ken has a whole bunch of comments. Ken, can you roll down a couple to kind of get at least half of them through before Overseer bring his question in, starting with Justin Claxton.
I'll bring it in. I think employment opportunities were limited, and the higher education opportunities were also limited. This is more of a question, but I think we can ask this. It's a comment, but I think we can ask this question also, because employment opportunities are limited, and higher educational opportunities were also limited. Isn't that also a case for some of the degeneration of families because fathers had to leave and go find employment opportunities away from their family? These were husbands who wanted to be with their wives, but they had to go to the factories, and maybe they weren't living in a factory town. They had to drive 2 hours, and they stayed with an aunt or an uncle or a friend and worked someplace, and when they came home on the weekends.
I agree.
That also caused some issues.
Yeah, right. So okay, what about Deborah?
Can I speak to that higher educational opportunity?
Yes.
Thank you, Sister Justine. In my senior year in high school, I went to Western Senior High School in Washington, D.C. It was the most integrated school in the city simply because it was on what was called Embassy Row. It's now the Wellington School of Performing Arts, which meant we had the children of all of the ambassadors in that school. The counselor told my dad to send me to trade school because I was not college material. Told my father I was not college material. My dad looked at that counselor, told her, he's going to college if it kills me. Well, thanks be to God, Dad sent me to college. And because of that, by God's grace, not to throw it out there,
but there's tons of stories.
I didn't get a chance because the counselor died before I could get back to her.
Yeah.
I not only got one college degree, I have 4 of them.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get to some of the other questions on comments.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one. I'll bring it in. Fathers, and this is another statement, fathers just as important to daughters can greatly impact our self-esteem. Yes, we know that.
That's true, yeah.
Yesterday, we agree.
No problem.
I have that's right, Pastor Johnson. That's a point for me. Amen, Overseer. That's a point for me. Good. I don't know who that belongs to. I'm going to say it was a split at half and half.
That must be for me. It got to be for me. That's Bishop Bull.
No.
Yeah.
Here's another one that says,
y'all keeping score.
So Sister Brown goes back. He's the leader, protecting head of the household. I think this was one of your statements, Bishop. The father removed because the fathers removed because they don't want thriving black families. We need this foundation. So her point again goes with Bishop that a father in the home, and I agree with that. Still, it's not this. I agree with that. A father in the home brings a stronger family. I agree, but I think that you can still have a strong family unit without 2 parents if the parent is strong enough.
And what makes you understand that? See, that's been where we have been suppressed all of this time. If I can use another quote that my cousin says sometimes, she said, we have not gotten beyond our, as she quote unquote, chitlin mentality is what she called it. Because, y'all, slaves outnumbered their owners. So they didn't want them to be united.
Right.
Look, the 2 largest slave revolts led in the South were led by men who headed families and brought them together.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Nat Turner and Denmark Vesey led the 2 largest revolts because what? They talked about black families.
All right.
Here we go. This one we are talking about percentages. We will always have different families makeups, but the larger the percentage with mom and dad, the better. That's a comment.
Yeah, and you can support that. In fact, there's a statistics that says only families with both mother and father are 5%. Only 5% of those that are in poverty. Yeah. So so the better it is, with both parents, it's the better it is for the family.
That's
So
economics, though. That's economics.
that's it.
That's
So,
different.
but Bishop, we got about 10 minutes left. So let's talk about. So now, since we recognize the fact that it's the disintegration of the African American family, at least from the time of the introduction and the push towards the welfare system. And I want people to understand that welfare is not just the assistance to African American to helping people. The welfare system consists of at least 6 components. We don't have
Right.
time to go into them, but it's more than just temporary assistance for needy family.
But please do not use the word push to welfare system. No one pushed anybody to the welfare. This is the problem I have. Nobody shoved them to the welfare system. So don't use the word push. Please just have created the welfare system.
No.
And if I can throw this in, Bishop Paul, what you're even saying about the welfare system per se, that's why I say we need to understand that this Roe versus Wade is not just about abortion. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The underlying thing is it deals with voting rights. It's going to deal with, watch this, y'all, interracial marriages. And look how many interracial marriages we got going on now.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to cut into everything. But they want you to just focus on abortion because they don't want you to see where it's really headed. Okay.
You see, I'm not gonna rebut my good friend just yet with the statistics that I have here, because I want Bishop to speak to what is it that we can do to reverse the situation, because right now we're getting further and further and further away from what we know. What history has more or less indicate to us for the best for children when we have 2 parents. What given the state that we're in, how can we turn things around so that we can better the African the black family?
Well, in all sincerity, in all honesty, is we need to come together as a people. When we say the whole village, like you just said, we need to work with one another and not fight each other. So we're too competitive, Reverend. We're too competitive, and we create and like you say, Rupert. What I look at when you brought that out, 70% of the athletes on basketball, football teams are black.
Yep.
But how many black owners do you have?
Yeah.
I don't mean coaches, Reverend. I mean owners.
Yeah. One minority is not black. One minority.
So until we pull together, and put our resources together, we need a cause, Paul. We need a cause. That's what started the civil rights movement, was the cause.
Yes. So I'm looking at a 75-year-old professor before me that he can take up the mantle and start. he got 2 bad men behind him that is going to help him, because we had a Martin Luther King, we had a Malcolm X, we got all of. So why is what Overseer, are you ready to support Bishop Johnson to pick up the cause?
I'm there to support you, Bishop.
All right.
I'm a little radical, Bishop. I'm a little radical. I'm like,
that's all right. That's all right. And see, and since you brought, and Paul, since you brought that in, when I say to keep the division, that's why they assassinated Malcolm and Martin. Those 2 brothers had planned to join forces. Now, can you imagine what would have happened if the 2 of them had gotten together?
It would have struck. And we have to make sure we should put. Could you please put up Deborah Johnson's point, because Debbie's not just a person who watches us; she's actually a judge also. So she's
an attorney
intensively. So when she says Roe will absolutely impact our communities, she knows what she's talking about. So this is going to be something that we have to kind of be aware of, that it will impact our communities, unfortunately. So thank you. Yeah.
You're not supposed to say who she is anyway, right? You know that, right? You're supposed to say Deborah Johnson, right? That's what you're supposed to say.
I
right?
cannot. I don't
No,
know.
we can talk about his sister.
She's my
No.
sister. I mean, if they wanted, they're not gonna mess with her. I'm about to get radical. This is gonna be radicalness.
We can talk about his sister.
Yeah, they're not gonna tell me about
That's family. That's family.
So Bishop, we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis.
Yes, sir.
We have a system where we're in the African American unit, husband and wife. The wife out earns the husband, and so you're asking for them to come together. It's usually before it was the man, the husband, who was going to the factory, who was laboring while the wife was home helping to keep the unit together. But now you got the wives out earning the husbands, and the husband have to be a little bit quiet on certain issues. So
Right.
are you telling me that we gotta bring this unit together? How do you see how are you gonna get this done? Since we're following on.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
What is your game plan?
They got it. Like I said, it's going to take us as I'll say, like the fella who said I can eat an elephant. Somebody asked him, "How you going to eat the elephant?" He said, "One bite at a time." So one teach one. As we train and teach each other, and not have any big eyes and little U's. If we're in this thing together, we're in this thing together.
So I will ask the
and
producers to bring up your material.
Watch this. Here's what gets me. How is it? I'm gonna get in trouble, y'all. The vice president married someone of the other persuasion. The new Supreme Court justice is married to someone of the other persuasion. And yet they can work together. Why can't we?
So as he talking about working together, producer, would you bring up Bishop Johnson's book that he authored? Because you need to get that book, and once you get that book, I believe there's information in it how to contact him. So he's a resident teacher, because he says it starts with one. So please get copies of Bishop Johnson's book so we can get this movement going.
Amen.
And the second book that Bishop talked about is a Bible for African American men. It's the King James Version Men of Color Study Bible. That brings it from an African American or a Black or African perspective, more so than just a regular perspective that you might look at when you read the King James Version.
If I can just say something real quick, see, that was the other thing. We were told that we were worshiping a white Jesus, yada yada yada. When you read that Bible, Men of Color, you will see that we were intertwined throughout history, going all the way back to Abraham. A lot of folks, only the Jews do, per se, until here recently. Because when Mr. Spector, who is a Jew, named our daughter, because he was her godfather, he was Dad's lawyer, and he was a renowned Jew here in Baltimore, named our daughter Keturah. So anytime Keturah goes anywhere, they ask her, is she Jewish? And of course she says yes. Why? When they said Abraham was the father of many nations, his second wife was named Keturah, and she had 6 sons. Okay, so it wasn't just Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Keturah had 6 sons that helped make up the African nation. Okay, It was a black man that carried the cross for Jesus. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
And look, Rufus, y'all know I love to say this one. I said, and we were in the furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro.
That's your saying.
Yes, well, Bishop, again, we truly appreciate you coming on. We thank you so much, and we're just really thankful for the time they have spent with us, And I hope my co-producer here, Overseer Rupert, learned something.
Yeah, I learned how right I was.
Along with me, of course. I'm not going to leave out there. Bishop, thank you so much. And to our listening audience, we appreciate you. Remember to like us, right? Like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube and spread the word. The Badmen Show. We are up and coming. We're getting bigger, larger, and we with such great guests like Bishop Robert Johnson to come to provide clarity for us. Please join us every Monday evening at 7:15. Overseer.
The toughest thing is that I want to make sure that if everybody wants to see the TikTok that we're talking about, if the producers can put up that link right now, it's in your comment section. So you can copy it, but if you can pull up that link for the TikTok, there it is. But it's in your comment section. You can copy it, put into your URL, and bring it to the TikTok. You can see it with the link that we were using to talk about. So it's in the comment section. Grab it, take a look at it. There's other ones like it. We thank God for all of you. We appreciate you. Great show. Bishop Bull, they're praying for me. I don't know if they put up there, but they're praying for Bishop Bull. Bishop Bull asked them to pray for me. Thank you, sir. They're praying for me, sir. They're praying for me. I need all I can get. My wife needs it even more than I do because she's got to live with me. So please pray for my wife.
Bless you, Bishop. Thank you so much. Good night. Good night, everybody. See you next Monday.
Great show.
Great again. To the A, to the D, to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again. To the A, to the D, to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again. To the A, to the D, to the M. Like a fever, repping Jesus. To the A, to the D, to the M. To the E, to the